WarioWare is an arcade-based series in nature, as you attempt to complete as many rapid-fire challenges as possible before you fail 4 of them. Said challenges are dubbed microgames, as any one of them lasts no longer than 5 to 10 seconds, most of them only lasting about 3 if your score gets high enough, and many of them having some level of absurdity to them.
Smooch! Look at me! Why not? Crack! Oh yeah! Knockdown!
Despite this arcade nature, there's a surprising amount of content to do for 100% completion in Get It Together specifically. So much so that unless you're willing to do at least some of the post-game content, you shouldn't get the game whatsoever. The game first puts you through a story mode, with each level being its own theme of microgames, from everyday life to sports to Nintendo games. Playing these levels for the first time, you must achieve a certain score, then beat the boss, which is just a longer microgame, to progress. Going back to one of these stages afterwards lets you play it in an endless mode, and completing the story mode gives you special shuffle stages that mix up all of the microgames you've seen before to truly test your skills. Get It Together has you switch between different characters for every microgame, each one of them having different controls. You have the floaters, who don't believe in gravity. They're great to use if you're still getting to grips with the game. Then there are the jumpers, who I count as folks who are affected by gravity and who don't have an unorthodox control scheme. Then we have the what the f***s. They have their own unique controls, like 18V who is stationary and throws discs with the stick and button, or 9V who is always moving back and forth and the only control you have over him is shooting his yo-yo at the right time, or Pioro who only shoots his tongue at 45-degree angles. It could be argued that Get It Together is the game in the series with the biggest initial learning curve, but if you take the time to get to grips with things, that's when things really click. At this point, I basically don't think about the controls when I play. Albeit, I have sunk over 80 hours in the game, but even when the game was newer, it really didn't take a lot more playing past the story mode to get a feel for things. Said story mode is usually when the majority of people set down any of the WarioWare games, but I'm telling you, you are just getting started. Even the end credits of Get It Together say that while the story may be over, the game is just beginning, and they're not wrong. The whole point of WarioWare is to learn the ins and outs of every microgame at all 3 difficulty levels to get higher and higher scores, and in Get It Together, how each of the different characters are supposed to succeed in every microgame, so then you can stow away that knowledge into your unconscious memory for high scores in not just the stages, but as well as the additional content that Get It Together serves up. Yes, the first 20 to 25 hours or so of my playtime must have been getting just the target scores on all the stages, and microgames. But if you want to get good at WarioWare, you gotta study every microgame for at least a little bit. Not to mention that, if you stop playing Get It Together after the story is done, you would have spent $50 American for about 3 hours of content. Using the Switch Online game vouchers, that's the price I got Tears of the Kingdom for. So if you aren't planning on diving into at least a good majority of the content, I recommend that you don't spend your time and money on really anything WarioWare. The true test of Get It Together is in completing all of the mission lists as well as getting gold rank on all of the Wario Cups. The missions are the loose equivalent to achievements, and there's a lot of them. These equate to doing specific tasks in specific modes or microgames, often with specific characters. This was my least favorite part of completion. It boiled down to look at list for details, set up specific scenario, do thing, rinse and repeat. If there was some button you could just push to set up the scenario right there and then, it would make things so much easier, but no. The Wario Cups are pre-made challenges where you must achieve a certain score or beat the clock in certain sets of microgames. Sometimes with certain characters, other times with a crew of your choice, or even controlling multiple characters at once. All of your studying, skills, and adaptability is put to the test in these cups, so really you could argue that this is the meat of Get It Together. If you're able to choose your crew for a cup, each character gives you a point multiplier for more points if the devs think that that one makes things harder, or a point multiplier for less points if they deem that one makes things easier. That multiplier can be increased via leveling up every character. So, as you do things, you earn cash for these chicken gachas, which give you more tchotchkes to give to every crew member. Each crew member has their favorite items, which levels them up more than other items. Either do trial and error to figure this out, or take the easy route like I did and find a chart online detailing all of this. I'd say don't worry about getting anyone much past level 30 initially. Even getting them up to that takes a lot of work. You could argue that with all this prep work for the Wario Cups and missions, that this game is no better than RPGs that don't get good until you're dozens of hours in. But WarioWare has the distinct advantage of being a fun video game. So as to break up what would be a monotonous game for many folks out there, you should use WarioWare as a sort of supplementary game that you chip away at completing over time, to break up your time from other larger games you may be playing. For a couple reasons, it took a year of on and off play for me to complete, not just finish, Get It Together. One reason being that, in the first year of the game's life, a single Wario Cup was distributed via the internet each week in real time. So even if you fully completed everything else, you just had to sit there and wait to get the rest of the 50-odd Wario Cups. Although in these days, when you unlock the Wario Cup, everything is accessible to you as long as your Switch is online, so no need to wait anymore. So a funny side effect from sinking all this time into the game is that it turns the local multiplayer modes into an unfair and potentially overwhelming time for your unskilled family and friends, and a snooze fest for you who's dedicated several dozen hours to mastering the game. Outside of playing these for the sake of completion, play these at your own discretion. If WarioWare Get It Together looks at all interesting to you, I highly recommend trying out the demo. It gives you a handful of microgames to sink your teeth into, and a variety of characters with different control schemes, so then you know if you're going to be in over your head if you get the full game. Just also be aware that if you drop it after finishing the story mode, you're really not getting your money's worth. But don't feel like you have to dedicate all of your time into just this one game. Do what I did and play it between other games you're already playing through. Besides, for as much as I love the WarioWare games, I can realistically only take so much of it at a given time. It's kinda like scrolling through short-form content. If you do too much at once, your brain is just gonna feel mushy. At least WarioWare has the advantage of making you engage your brain the whole time, and giving you an easy out with a game over. Things like TikTok don't. Use this as an out for yourself to literally go do anything away from a screen. Go. Leave.